There it is. We are okay. We're live here. It's going to take a second to kick into Instagram. Hello, everybody. I have been on a little bit of a break from these chats. Initially, it was going to be a week, and then I had a lot of things going on and decided I would just kind of roll with it because I do think that sometimes we need to let ourselves go with the flow. So it's been a few weeks since I've done one of these. I'm really excited that Coach Lisa is the person that I'm going to be speaking with. As I come back from this, we just had a pre-chat, and already I just feel that wonderful thing that happens when you connect with people and share about the ways that we can spread positivity and meet people where they're at and share a message. So I'm encouraged by that immediate connection. I'm excited about where this conversation is going to go. A reminder to everybody that sometimes the comments and questions, we don't notice them because we're having a conversation or they don't feed over. We will get back to those afterwards and take a look at those. I thank everybody who's taking the time to participate by listening in or watching this conversation, whether it's while it's happening or it's down the road recorded. Confident that there's going to be something that you're going to find meaningful and is going to impact your life, because that's what happens every time we have conversations with people, and that's the beauty of it all. So with all that said, Coach Lisa, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Oh my goodness. Well, I am Yes, Coach Lisa. So I love the yes. If you know me, you know I say that a lot, but I help you to find your true yeses. I like to say that I am an amalgamation of the little girl who was Mary Sunshine when she got home, but fourth grade, really the victim of massive bullying. And she kind of turned that around to become a prosecutor, then later on a singer and actress. And then I landed myself here where the key word is freedom. So I have a business that is around freedom. See, I am all about busting through barriers, but people actually experiencing what it feels like to be on the other side of whatever jail cell you might have self-imposed for you. So I call it the brain body business alignment. It is the business of living all dimensions of life coming together to bring joy, happiness, stability, and just purpose and passion in your life.
Woo! Yeah, I mean, if that doesn't get you motivated, and I didn't say before, and I do want to tell everybody that because we're going to focus on the conversation like we always do, I do encourage you to check out Yes, Coach Lisa's full bio that kind of goes through her journey here in facts, right? Because today we're going to talk about all the stuff behind the facts, but it does give you a really good overview of all those facts. I love what you said about freedom. There's so many different ways that we can take that word: emotional freedom, physical freedom, spiritual freedom, freedom from the criticism that we inflict on ourselves, right? And you touch on all of that. I know that from having had conversations directly with you. I know that from having had conversations from people who have benefited from the coaching and inspiration that you provide. And, you said something about the coming home from school and the being Miss Mary Sunshine and then experiencing the bullying. And it's interesting that you connect those things together. You kind of surpassed, granted it was a quick summary, a lot of the things in between, and that connected with kind of your later in life to bring you to here. What is it about that part of either what you said, the Miss Mary Sunshine or the being bullied, that has, you think, prepared you to be so powerful in what you do now?
Well, I think, just from my own experience in this beautiful world is that we are given seeds. And sometimes it's seeds for positive and beautiful things that happen. And sometimes there's seeds that are like little poison pills. And if you're not careful, the poison pill can start to define you, start to limit you, start to put you in boxes. Even something that happens as a youth could put you in a box as an adult if you're not careful. So I talk about those two extremes because that was my life. And I believe most people have extremes in their life. Even in the darkest moments, there's something that's really beautiful and happy that's a part of their orbit. It's just that you can't see it so much because of the dark clouds around you. So what I realized is that my job, if you will, as a human being in this world is to get to the point where I am so balanced in understanding these gifts that were given to me, but also the experiences I had and the lessons learned and how I mix them together so that I can prevent other people having to experience what I did. I can short circuit other people staying in their own personal prisons. I have the unique ability, because I have an understanding of my own experience, to really help impart that kind of wisdom to someone else that makes their journey a little easier, more joyful, more deep, rich understanding of who they are. And then they get to be really who they are. Because to me, most people are walking around of half themselves and they don't even know it. Some people know they're half themselves, and a lot of people don't even dare to ask the question, wow, am I living the life I was intended to live? Am I where I need to be? Is this the right atmosphere? Are these the right people? Have I put myself into some kind of prison based on experience, person, place, or thing from my past?
Yeah, and so much of that obviously I connect with from having had negative experiences in my childhood that, in the same way you just said, were very dark. Though I feel like even in the time there was some part of me that was like, this means something, right? It was stirring. I just couldn't quite get my head around what that was. And so obviously when you're young, fourth grade or whatever other age people might have experienced those things, we don't necessarily have the cognitive capacity to start going like, this is going to create something big and better in my future, right? It's just, this is hard.
Yeah.
And then in retrospect, and I think like I still get some of that me, because that little me is still in there. And as much as I have given her permission now to share her voice in a different way, she still has some sadness, and that's okay. I don't try to push her away. I let her be part of kind of this journey. And, as you were talking about the living a half self, I think lately a lot of us kind of will put that on social media. We'll say like, it's social media that's taking me away from it, or it's all the news. But this is something that's gone on for a long time. We're impacted in a way that leaves a message on us, right? Whether it's, and again, when you're a kid, you've got a lot of different people telling you who you should be and what you should be, your friends, your teachers, your coaches, your parents, other adults or peers that may come into your sphere that are going to send you messages that tell you what you can and can't do, or what you should and shouldn't do. So we're all working with that. And when you start to do what you said, give yourself the freedom to say, am I putting myself in a box? And if so, what can I do to get out of that box? It dominoes to other people. And it's such an incredible thing. I think I had a fear about sometimes sharing my story. I didn't want people to think that I thought I was better than them, right? And if we don't share our stories in the ways that we can live gratefully and live with hope and live with joy and live with purpose, then we're missing out on opportunities for other people to catch a part of that and realize that for themselves. And that's what I love. I love watching you do that with people.
Yeah, I got to say, and it bears saying once more, this last thing that you said, couple of things. One is this thing of fear. And so many of us walk around in fear. As a matter of fact, I was doing a workshop on just fear, because it's this amazing thing. And some of us, especially in the professional world, we've attained whatever it is. And so from the outside, people say, wow, kudos, hand on back. You're awesome. Your life is perfect, from other people's perspective. But at the end of the day, everyone has some degree of fear that they live with. So for me, because a lot of my trauma as a child was way back in fourth grade. So in my mind, I said, well, that was way then. So, if I'm saying it now, like it sounds like, okay, you're so tied to fourth. Can't you get past it? Didn't you grow ahead? You've had all these other experiences. But what I want to open up this kind of ability for people to be free in their share is that I don't care how old you were, it really doesn't matter. It's the things that you took from it. And did you hold on to some piece of it? And I happen to think a lot of it comes back. We can call it a lot of different things, but it has to do with how you value and your self-worth at some point. Some people, it's all about that. Some people, it touches on that. And I would challenge most people that even something as simple as how you ask for money from a client, or did I go for the position? And you can call it imposter syndrome. You can call a lot of things, but when you boil down to it, no one wants to say that they think that maybe it has to do with Do I feel I'm worthy of this next thing in my life? And that worthiness is something that could have been seeded a long time ago. And for me, I think it's like a sleuth. It's beautiful. It's like the sleuth of the best thing you'll ever do in your life is to ask the question of who I am. Who am I? What am I living a piece of a lie that someone else put on me? If I, did that someone else say that I am so and therefore I am? And if that's the case, wouldn't it be amazing to find that out and to remove that thread and to see the garment that comes from it? I can tell you that it will always be so much better to live that closer to the authentic you. And I hesitate on that word because it's overused. And a lot of people say, just be your authentic self, like just show up. But what I mean a lot more than that. I mean, like deep down, the most inner side of who you are, what is that? And strip away family, friends, colleagues, anything anyone else said. When nothing else is around and it's just you, what's left? Yeah. And start from there. It's amazing what you'll find out. And it'll apply to, I don't care what career you're in. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if it's your career, your family, your friends, your social, how you show up in your spiritual life, really doesn't matter. If you can find that piece of you, then I'm going to tell you, you will shine like a bright light and everyone will see. And more importantly, you will feel it and see it for yourself.
It's beautiful. I love that in one of the words that you said that like really stuck out throughout, and then it just carried itself through everything you were saying. I was envisioning it was the word garment, right? You were saying like what garment comes out. I actually got goosebumps because I immediately thought about like the garment, right, that we wrap around ourselves. You don't feel good, you put a blanket around yourself. You're trying to hide, you put a blanket around yourself. You're enjoying a day at the beach, you put a towel around yourself, right? That garment. We can all envision some type of way that we've wrapped something around ourselves that has brought us comfort. And what a cool thing when you think about creating an authentic, we're going to use the word, that's the word, even though you're right, I agree, overused. When you're wrapping yourself in your authentic self, you're giving yourself a hug. And for me, by nature, then you're giving everybody else a hug. Like I think about that message that we are all of us, incredible human beings. So that's not going to make me better than anybody. It's also not going to make me less than anybody. And so every time I give myself that hug and embrace that truth of who I am and live it in ways that are going to show that to other people, I'm also wrapping other people into that because I'm letting them have a little bit more of truth in the world, truth through me, which invites them to have truth in themselves. And it's incredible. I'll be coaching somebody, and when they'll start to kind of come in touch with that, I think sometimes there's this sense that like living authentically and touching into your purpose means that all of a sudden you've got to go out and do something big. And I mean big, not in the way that I'm gonna, because I think everything we do can be big, but big in the way that like I have to set some lofty goal. It's got to be, certain event that I'm going to do or some amount of money that I'm going to make, all of which is great. And I encourage those goals. But big can be just living so truthfully in yourself and inviting other people to do that, that when you're standing in line at the grocery store having a conversation with somebody, they can feel that and it uplifts them. Because when you say, how are you doing? You mean it. You truly mean it. And that's felt.
And you're ready to hear. You're not ready to talk. You're actually ready to listen with the most open heart so that you can make those kind of connections. I always say, a couple of things I wanted to say from what you said, sometimes the garment that we have, and some people, I'm a very visual person, so I'm similar to you. I think of, little Lisa being so tormented, never defended myself, never spoke up when given the opportunity, was just ladled in fear. So my way out in my first really major career was as a prosecutor. So my garment at the time was to really show compassion and understanding of what a bully does and what a bully means. And I love that we have an opportunity to wear different garments that really accentuate the journey that we're on and where we are at that moment. And we take pieces of the garment. I always think of, people that have the wedding dresses and they cut pieces of their great grandmother's wedding dress, and it's patched upon their wedding dress because there's different seasons. So it's not that you dismiss, you take those pieces, but now you're in a new season and you can see it and envision how this new garment can even reach more people because it is a truer reflection of you. So it's like kind of thinking about if garment works for you, great, but thinking about that kind of evolution.
Yeah.
And I think about taking that where I am. Someone said to me once, well, how does prosecutor have anything to do with acting and singing? And then like your business, your coaching business. And I said, that if you knew, it's one thread.
Yeah.
It is communication, it's understanding, it's the ability to really listen, empathy, compassion, the drive to help people to be in a better state, because I know what it is to be in the bad state. So I have a drive to help people for that and to find their own garment, because my garment's not their garment. Their garment's going to be so beautiful, technicolored in their own way, in the colors that reflect them. And so, I think it's this understanding of the evolution of self, the truth of you, but the understanding of what that truth is so dimensional that it can, I believe, have more to add to you till the last breath that you take in this world. And never stops your ability to understand and then to express inward and then to express outwardly.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I use the one thread, I'll use the term on this path, right? And that became the name of my poetry book. And if I subsequently wrote a poem, which wasn't based on the title of the book, so it was funny, but the phrase on this path, which I love, because I think like what you said, I think sometimes we'll talk about like, I need to get on another path, or we're really not getting on another path. It's the same path. It's that one thread, and we're going to turn. And so we don't need to detach from our previous experiences as though the mistakes we made, as big as they might be, are part of something that we no longer need to be connected to, because we're connected to every part of that in the same way that we're all connected to each other. And when we live in that truth, it teaches, right? I said to somebody yesterday, truth teaches, right? We share our truth. It teaches people. It allows other people to learn things. It encourages other people. It invites other people. And I wanted to reference something that when I had gone on one of your calls, I remembered sharing, and it made me think about the way that you were talking, because I was physically leaning forward in my chair. And you have a picture on your website. I'm assuming it's still there. I didn't check your website beforehand, but you had a picture on your website. I remember before I had gone on that, and I kind of wanted to get a sense of the community. And I noted how everybody was like leaning in the picture, despite the fact that it was a broad picture, right? Sometimes it's like we tell people like lean in because we need them to fit in the picture. There was like plenty of space. Nobody needed to be leaning in, but everybody was leaning in. And that's when you live the way that you're talking about, that one threadness, that I was a fourth grader who was bullied. I was a prosecutor. I was an actress and a singer. I'm a coach. I am that person. That's all of who I am. And it encourages everybody to be part of that one threadness. Their one thread becomes it. So, right, that garment can be the garment of ourselves, but it's also the garment of community and connection that we share when we live in that truth. And that's what I saw when I was looking at that picture, the fact that everybody, like, they were present. They wanted to be there. They wanted to be themselves. They wanted to be next to the real and true selves of other people around them. What do you think is one way that you really encourage that in that community? Like, what's one of the ways that you think, or maybe it's something that you say? I mean, obviously, yes, Coach Lisa, right? That's definitely an empowering statement in and of itself. But what is one of the ways that you really encourage that and bring that out in people?
Oh my God, I love that you saw, and I love when you talk to people and sometimes they see a little something special that maybe you didn't see offhand. Definitely wasn't a lean in everybody, because I always hate when people are like too big on the photos and like exactly what you should do. But I think that the key, and partly we have something called Reinventing the Woman, and it's an amazing tribe of women, international, very unique, all different ages, all different professions, all different, because the draw is not because you're a coach, or draw is not this, but the commonality is that everyone is seeking this community of understanding, support, growth, love, joy. Everything's not a love and joy, but the support when things aren't feeling so loving and joyful in your orbit, but that people can listen not with a judgmental ear, but with someone that's saying, hey, I just want to be there for you. Maybe that's it. I'm here. That's it. I don't want to solve it. I'm here. And I think what you see is a group of people. And what I love is from, different languages and different backgrounds, finding that we have more in common than we have that is opposed. When you come at something and you show up in a way that says, you know what, I'm not wearing masks, fakeries. I'm not trying to pretend to be, this is who I am. And yeah, there's some parts, woo, great. And there's some parts, okay, working on that, and okay. And I'm okay with that because it's an evolution, growth. I love your thing, pathway. And when people feel that, honestly feel that, then you never have to tell someone to lean in or smile, clap your hands, feel good, all those, because they just do.
Yeah. Just be. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Were you still going? I don't want to interrupt you. No. I'm almost lost for words, which in a good way. I'm just feeling that for a minute, what you just said, right? Because I think, how often do we get so focused on the action part of it, which again means just sitting can be action, but we get so focused on the action part of it that we miss the being part of it. Right. So like I'm doing all the right steps. I'm doing all the right things. I mean, there are definitely, when I look back on areas of my life, I mean, I always was trying to live in purpose and I was always trying to be the best version of myself. So it wasn't like I wasn't attending to that, but I definitely was focusing more on the tasks at hand and at times. And then I'd be like, well, that just went by. Right? Like if you're so busy taking out your umbrella that you miss just the smell of the rain or right? We just, all of those different things that we can do. And when you said about living in love and joy, even when we don't feel love and joy, and that's a difficult thing to do, right? It's difficult when you're in fourth grade and you're getting bullied, but it's difficult when you're an adult and you're dealing with an unexpected health crisis or job loss or lack of certainty about some particular thing or relationship stresses, all of the different things that can cause stress. We're designed by nature in terms of survival to go like, what's the solution here? And we need to do that. And that's always going to be important. But we also want to be very in touch with the being of that moment so that when we're looking back, we're able to take not just the specific tasks from it, but the emotional growth and the emotional learning from it. And that's what really brings that thread through, like you mentioned, communication, right? Like it's your thread. That's what allows you to really develop that thread. I
love what you just said, and I think it's necessary for an emphasis and an exclamation point. It's along the lines of being able to be present.
Yeah.
So key. So yes, fourth grade, from the time the little bell ding, ding, a ding, a ding until the bell rang, a ding, a ding, a ding, a ding. Lisa was either running or in some kind of difficult situation. So no doubt was not good. Didn't want to be present, just wanted to be safe. But when I got home and I had to walk home, and I remember the route walking home, and I remember the trees, and I could close my eyes and I can see the pathway of trees, which were quite lovely that we do. I also remember that one of the things I loved was poetry, and I would read poetry. I had a chance to present poetry. I used to love art projects. So there were things that in the midst of something terrible, I could find something that I loved. And you see that in other situations. I was looking at it was a war-torn picture, and I'm blanking on which country it was, but oh my God, there's so many conflicts.
I know.
But it was these kids, and something had been bombed out, but the kids had found a way to make something that was bombed a slide. And there were some pictures and photographs of them laughing and smiling. And so people were like, well, how could you feel? Like, how could you? And some of the parents were smiling. It was a moment in time, but it was a moment obviously in the midst of tragedy going. But there's these moments of joy you can find in even the moments of absolute hell. And our ability to really nurture that piece of us, as you said, the default is everything's bad, I'm bad, let's fix it. Oh, it can't be fixed. Now I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm this, I'm that, and take it down. But the other side says, what is good? Oh, what's loving in my life, even though I lost my job? You know, what were my friends or my family, or what are these other grateful things I'm for? Oh, my health. Oh, my goodness, people that don't have health, they're looking at someone that has health and they don't care about the money, the this, the that. Right. So you have your health, the ability to help your brain and retrain it, that those joyful, happy, grateful, compassionate, wonderful moments, the ability to connect with another human being. You still are here, that you can connect with another human being. How amazing is that? And not a fake one, not a hello, it's raining outside. Yeah, okay, that's all right. But a one that leaves a lasting imprint both on you and the other human being, and whoever hears the two of you speaking. As long as you are here, you have that opportunity. And so it's some of, the work I really enjoy is helping to retrain brains to recognize that even in the midst, I'm not trying to make your life like everything's just going to be rosy. There's no one's life's like that.
Right.
But in the dark moments, can you find light? And in the dark moments, can you not only find it, but can you stay in the light long enough to feel the joy of what that is? Maybe even to an extent that you can share it with somebody else. That's a powerful tool. And it's one that we all have the ability to have. So if you don't have it, know you can have it. And it's probably one of the greatest gifts, I feel, that, any of the work that I do that I can give to someone, because that's a gift that'll last a lifetime.
Yeah, and I think to get that, to be able to go through the darkness into the lights, so to speak, it's actually owning the emotion. It's not ignoring the emotion. It's like, if you're sad, if you're angry, if you're frustrated, right? Any of those, we call them negative emotions, but I mean, they're just part of human existence, right? All of our emotions are part of human existence and have purpose that we can drive in a direction that's going to be productive. But any of those emotions that we kind of culturally consider negative, sadness, anger, when you say, this is what I'm feeling, right? You own that to yourself. This is what I'm feeling. This is why I'm feeling it. So you're not trying to suppress it, right? Like, it's, if you think about, almost if you're talking to yourself as this little child, like, stop crying, you know what I mean? Like, no, okay, you're sad. Why are you sad? This is why you're sad. Okay, own that. We've got that. Now we're going to look for the reason that we can find the joy, find the light, find the purpose moving forward. And one of the things I think is really that has helped me is, like, I'll say to myself, no matter what purpose you're looking for, whether you know your purpose or you don't know your purpose, wherever you're at in your purpose journey, right? There's one thing I can be certain of. The collective purpose of all of us is to help everybody else live their purpose, right? So focus on that, right? How can I be the most effective version of myself that I know that I'm bringing myself to this world, being present, like you said,
Yes.
Encouraging that, because as we impact other people, we are bringing ourselves forward, because we're all going forward together.
And that's beautiful. I always talk about it as I call it like mining your morals, like mining as a coal miner. So you have all these values, some of them sit a little dormant, but hey, you could bring them to the forefront. So we work our muscles. Everyone understands that. Okay, so you want to lose weight, you have to do X. You want to, do a bodybuilding contest, you got to go in the weight room, right? And you have to combine. We understand that. We intuitive. We might not be doing it, but we do understand it. And I posit to you that the morals are no different than the muscles of your body. If they can remain dormant, a little weak, but you can pull them out every day. And if you say to yourself, this week, kindness is something I really want to be. I want this to be in the forefront of my spirit. So I am going to deliberately, specifically, everywhere that I can be kind, I'm going to show up in a kind way. And I'm going to do it so it's conscious, so that I'm really teaching my brain, my body, how I show up in the world. This is what it feels like to be really kind. And you see how many kind acts you could do in a day. I don't care. You can set something for yourself, how many kind conversations and opening the door and being nice to someone that's maybe not being so nice to you on the phone because you've asked for something. How can you turn situations around? I used to play a game where if you go in a store and someone is being really rude to you at the counter, maybe they've just had a really bad day. Can I turn it around? Can I use my tools? Can I make them smile? Can I make them laugh? Can I depressurize a situation that's happening because everyone's crowded in a store and the lines are long? Can I make jokes? Can I do, that's my personality. What's your personality, right? When you start to intentionally say, I'm going to be really patient today, I'm going to be kind, I'm going to be the most compassionate person in the room today, you will start to find that it stops being something you have to set as a goal. It's like the training wheels. Training wheels comes off, and guess who you are? You're all the things that you set for yourself, and you're pulling from yourself. So it's not pulling from the ether and making something that's not. It's something that you are, and whether it is something that you've lived every day, you'll start to find that you'll be a better supervisor, employee, husband, wife, child, cousin. You'll just be a better person, and people want and crave to be around that. And maybe you'll stop having that conversation to yourself, like, when I go into work, these set of people are just all terrible or whatever, because you'll start to see it maybe a little differently. Yeah. It'll help your balance. And, what we're talking about, something you said, which I love, it's not like the major, I didn't say anything that was like, oh my gosh, and then I'm going to make a kindness academy and it'll have 17,000 people signed up by next year. I don't need to say that. I just need to say, what am I going to do? And that may turn into the Kindness Academy that has 17,000 people. Who knows? I'm not, no right. limits. But for you, it can just be, how do I show up every day? Can make a world of difference, not in your life, but in the orbit that's around you.
Yeah, and I love how you likened it to working it as a muscle, right? I mean, emotions can follow actions. It doesn't have to be vice versa. I think that we think like, I don't feel patience right now, so I'm not being patient. But what you're talking about is intentional choices, right? You may be feeling impatient when the person cuts you off in traffic, but that doesn't mean you have to respond in an impatient way. And the more you train yourself to go like, I'm in control of this, I'm not going to do that, it does start to become habit. It becomes habit that, and I've talked about this before, like I've been in the car with people where we'll be somewhere and people will just be doing crazy stuff. And they're like, you have like no road rage. And I'm like, there are things people are doing that are bothering me, but I always think to myself, like you said, like, what is that person rushing to right now? What news did they get? Are they not feeling well? Like, I have no idea what that person's existence is. Now, it may in fact be that they just really want to get where they're going and they don't care. Okay. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to change that, but I can certainly change how I'm going to respond. If the person cut me off, it's already happened. That moment has passed. So now I'm going to think, I hope that whatever that person's got going on that's potentially causing them to feel that they're in a hurry, that it's okay. That's what I'm going to spend my attention thinking on. Certainly, go ahead.
No, it's so beautiful about that, because if I did the flip thing, if I did the opposite of what you just said, because you're not going to remember that later on in the day. I'm going to say, Deb, how was your day? You're not going to say, hey, you know what? I really intentionally some guy cut me off. It's not going to be on the top of you. But if you acted outside of yourself, you cussed him out, you put the finger up, you did something that you're going to repeat it. You're going to think about it. You're going to chew on it. You're going to have emotions about it. And it's now suddenly this second momentary thing becomes maybe an hour's worth of something, emotion attached to it, stress attached to it, anger, all these other emotions that you didn't have to have. Right. It's a tale of two cities. Just your example is a tale of two cities. Just so people can see that. One is I get to go on and live my life and let's see what else unfolds, And the other is I take something negative with me and I repeat it over and over all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. Or we also will punish ourselves. So we'll make a mistake, right? It's a moment of impulse and I'll be like, are you kidding me right now? And then we're like, well, now forget it. Now but like it's okay, so you made a mistake, right? Like you don't need to go further down that path. Like that's but again, I think you have to train yourself to that habit. So when people will say like I'm just an impatient person, I'm like you're currently behaving in impatient ways. You're not an impatient person. You can change that behavior unless you're going to define yourself by it, then you're probably not going to. Like if you're like I'm an impatient person, I'm never going to be patient. We all struggle with patience. There is nobody I have met who hasn't experienced the wanting something to happen the way they want it to happen sooner than it's happening, right? Like we all have that thirst for like, I want this to happen now. Like, so that desire is okay, but we do have to be very mindful of what we're going to do with it. And I mess that up all the time. Like I make mistakes all the time. And I'm like, what are you doing? So, but the more you do what you were talking about, like the training the muscles of behavior and emotion following the action, right? I used to refer to it when I was going through, well, I still refer to it, but when I was going through my really bad anxiety and depression episodes, I would call it the as if it approach, right? So I would be having a really bad day. Now, not to take away from the fact that sometimes in the pit of depression, you're not just going to snap yourself out of it. So I don't want anybody to misconstrue that. There were definitely days where like there was not a whole lot that was going to help. But in some of those times when I would wake up and I would feel myself at that cusp of like heading in that direction, right? There's certain triggers that were happening, or I could feel the certain physical feelings that I would get that would kind of give me an indication that like, oh, you're having a bit of an off day here. I would intentionally do things that I would do if I was in a good mood, because that way I could kind of tell myself like, keep going. And many times, sometimes not, but many times the emotion would improve because I was doing that thing, because I was going like, okay, you're moving forward in that direction. So it's the same thing. It's that training of the responses and the choices that we make. And the reason that communities are so important is that is hard to do in isolation.
Right. Because sometimes you're in a habit.
Right.
And I love you say the word, and we both say the word choice. I always say, I choose to choose. I choose to choose every day, because it's a choice to say I have a choice. And I choose to show up in that way, right? Because life is a series of choices by the megasecond. It's just a series of, do I go left or do I go right in terms of my thinking and thoughts? But I also would think of it, and something you said, it's like truth or lie. Some people play a game. I don't really play that game, but if I were to play that game, in our life, we have these things that we say about ourselves. Is it a truth or a lie? So we say, oh, I'm an impatient person. Well, really, what makes you say that? And if you take the time to figure out why you say what you say, because usually it's some poison pill that drops somewhere. I'm not talking the person that's, marginally, I wanted something to happen, it didn't happen. I'm talking about the people that define themselves a certain way, right? We also can do that with people. So a situation happens and you create your own truth about it. We do this all the time. We fill in the gaps. The brain has to do that. It wants a full picture. We only give it a quarter of a picture, half of a picture sometimes. So we fill it in. We can fill it in with something that's more on the positive side, and then we can fill in a negative. We have a choice, right? So I could say, this guy cut me off. That guy's a racist. He's I could fill in the blanks in a million ways. And with that, have all the emotions about all the words I've just called this person that adds to the anxiety of what occurred. Or I could choose to say, I can't fill in the blanks because I don't know it. But what if, like you said, it was this? And if it was this, okay, then I don't have any of those emotions. So to know on a second by second, minute by minute, you train the mind to understand that's what you're doing. You're doing it all the time. Coworker walks past you. Oh, she has an attitude because I got a promotion. You just made that whole scenario up. That's just from whole cloth. That is something you made up, but now you have emotion behind it. You think that you repeat it to somebody else that's a confidant because you think X, and now you've made something and have emotion behind it. Ask yourself, stop yourself. Anytime you are ever making an estimation about someone, about their motives, about their hello, the way they said or they didn't say it, know that you're making that piece, and you have the choice to make it from a negative or to a positive with the possibility. And it changes how you show up. It changes your relationship with everyone. Now, if you have evidence of something else, okay, then you deal with how you have to deal with. But do you know most of us have no evidence? We just operate that way because the brain fills in the blanks.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I think, kind of piggybacking on the truth or lie, you could kind of ask yourself fact or theory, right? Like if you just kind of ask yourself, and I think sometimes even, with my kids, they'll come home and I did it and I still do it. So I shouldn't make it sound like it was something I only did when I was a teenager. We still do it. We all do it. Like we fill in the gaps. But sometimes they'll say something and they'll have, for good reason, have concluded why something occurred. I do have to catch myself because sometimes I want to well, it could have also been this, it could have also been this. And sometimes you just need to be heard. I'm upset. This happened. This is what I think was the cause, right? We want to work through, even if it is a theory, we want to work through that in order to share it. So there is a balance, but do you know that to be true, right? Do you know that to be true? And even sometimes when we know the truth, right, what we still don't know is the underlying factors that contributed to that. Right?
Exactly.
Maybe that person really doesn't like you, but maybe somebody else told them that you said something horrible about them. Like we don't really know what are the perpetuating factors. And we do want to balance that with, of course, having healthy boundaries and making sure we're not being treated poorly, right? It doesn't mean that if you're sitting at your desk, you should allow people at work to say whatever they want to you and just sit there and say, hey, this is great. But
maybe they're having a bad day.
You can say this is unacceptable, but you don't need to perpetuate it and then go and say other bad things about them to somebody else, right? So we can balance having those healthy boundaries and making sure that we establish what is and is not acceptable based on the morals you're talking about, our morals and our comfort, while still making a choice to not perpetuate that type of behavior and to be a model of what it's like to choose. Again, acknowledging, I feel inclined to say that I mess up all the time. I'm sure, not right. We're gonna make those mistakes. I catch myself in it, and then I'm like, okay. But the more you practice that behavior, the more you see it, and the more you surround yourself with people who truly love you and are living in their truth, the more those people around you are going to help you to, try to not do those behaviors, but also love and forgive you and give you the grace you need when you make those mistakes, so you don't spiral down the well, it's too late, I messed up hole.
Oh my gosh. So with a couple things I just have to say, the big word, the big F word I love is forgiveness, freedom and forgiveness. Forgiveness of ourselves, forgiveness of others, not for their benefit so much as it's for our benefit. We hold on to a lot of things and it prevents us from really, that thing called joy. It really prevents us from really experiencing that fully because of the things I call like little anchors around your neck. You just hold on to something. It could be from the past, it could be from yesterday, but you're holding it and therefore you're tethered to that experience or that person or that place just by virtue of your own thinking. So it's more for you to be free to open up the links of your chain so that you can really start to experience what it is just to be here. And the other thing I really wanted to say, I think it bears mentioning again, because I don't want anyone to walk away thinking, oh, okay, so I'm trying to find out what's fair. And in the meantime, people are just treating me this way or that way. No, it's really you being able to operate in an understanding of what's really true and understanding that you're working against sometimes how the brain wants to operate. You're working against, if you haven't done the work, your own self, what you're bringing to the table, own past experiences and emotions and maybe misinterpretations of who you are, you're bringing those to the table. The more we can level out and get rid of some of the things that are standing in the way, the more that you're able just to see what is real and to be able to deal with it and face it, even if it's something that's not happy and great. But now you're able to show up. You don't have to run away from it. You don't have to hide from it. You don't have to pretend it doesn't exist. Now you're able to confront the things you need to confront. But now you're able to do it really wearing the garment that is you and in a way that is so in tune with who you truly are. So I don't have to go in waving my finger and cussing out and feeling all stressed out. I can confront something, the most difficult situation, and still be myself, and I don't have to put on another mask to be able to feel like I've stood up for myself or I've advocated in some way. So it's really getting to this. And I think if you can hear from what we're saying, all of this is that big freedom. I get to freely show up for me, and I get to, yes, stand up for what's right and do what I need to do, but at the same time recognize that maybe every day is not a fight every day, and every person is not again me. Maybe there's another thing out there that's there. And I think in the spirit of the kind of conversations that people have right now about all sorts of issues that are big and pressing, that if you can just have that kind of openness, understanding, talking from the inside out, giving the benefit of the doubt sometimes to things until you know for a fact otherwise, I think it just makes us better as humans. And I think, at this point, really in that realm, I don't care what realm you're in, both professional, personal, political, religious, whatever you're discussing, you get to really come in with an open ears, but an open heart, and to be able to experience, that's a real freedom, I think, of self. And I'm going to tell you, you'll be able to do it in a way that's not so laden with heavy emotions and negativity, but you'll be able to show up in any situation, being able to say, okay, I'm here. Let me hear what you have to say. Here's what I have to say, and let's just see where we go from there. Let's be respectful in all ways.
Whew. So I see what we're talking about with communication as the connecting piece between actor, singer, prosecutor, coach, right? Like that voice of when we act and when we sing, we bring people emotions with words. We allow them to experience things that they're not experiencing. As a prosecutor, I can only imagine, having never been a prosecutor. There's education that's going on there. There's providing information to help people to understand why a situation may have unfolded, how we can prevent the situation from unfolding again. That carries over into coaching, right? So it's like I'm like, yeah, there it is, that communication, the way that everything you just said, I was like, that was an actress, singer, prosecutor, and coach. Like I could see it all. And that was a fourth grader who loved poetry and art in the midst of bullying, who took that experience and said, I'm going to apply that to something beautiful, because that's what poetry and art is. In effect, that's what existence is. So you really just kind of gave your big thought, but I'm going to in a minute have you, if you want to give one final thought to everybody. But I want to beforehand, I don't want to forget to do this. Tell everybody what is the best way, or the multiple ways that they can connect with you, follow your messages, your journey, whether they want to join your community, website, social media, etc. How do people get more Yes Coach Lisa?
So I just try to keep things simple. So it is yescoachlisa.com. If you wanted to email me anything that you need, lisa@yescoachlisa.com. And the tribe that we've created is called Reinventing the Woman. We have an amazing retreat that we do every year in the Dominican Republic. This year, we are taking on fear. I say you have to face it and then flip it to do amazing things in your life. So fear to be your friend, what would that be like? So that's April 24th through the 28th at a private resort, and we take over the whole resort, and in the Dominican Republic. So, I think you'll find information about that. I think the best way is on my website. That's going to be a wonderful way to connect with me. But also sending, little messages. My Instagram is Lisa Embrace Fitness. So I always love a little IG support. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and as I always say to people, if you would like me to do an introduction, I have had people in the past reach out and they just want me to kind of tee up the connection. Obviously, people, please feel free to reach out. I would love to connect you with Lisa. I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate you sharing so openly and heartfelt into the conversation. We were talking about being present, and you were definitely fully present, and I could feel that. I see your book in the background, and you didn't mention your book. I don't know if you want to
didn't mention my book. So this is Yes, Coach Lisa. So yes, Commit, Do, Live. This is really that journey. You would hear a little bit about little Lisa, little fourth grade Lisa, but it's really the journey through there. And then some amazing opportunities I had to work, for instance, at Rutgers University in their Aging and Brain Health Alliance, really understanding about Alzheimer's and dementia. And that really is still very impactful in my life today with some of the clients I work with, but also some of the communities. And it really is, I wanted to have something that was just a short nuts and bolts way to start to really retrain your brain from negative thinking, from fears, from your relationship with your body, from reattaching your body to your brain. And then having something which I call the AGE, aging with grace and excellence. So I believe age truly is just a number as it is, but it's how you show up in it. And so that book is all about that. I talk about one thing that I would love to leave the audience with, Deb, and it's kind of mentioned in the book, but I wanted people just to almost see your life as a play. I was in theater, I love plays. And if it was a play and you're the central character, and so the things that you have and the evolution of your story and all the things that we've talked about, the garments you wear, the paths you take, what I see is sometimes people, instead of them showing up as the lead actor in their own play, they are either sitting in the audience, the behind the scenes, or they're a supporting player in their own play. So I really want you to see, how are you showing up in your life? Are you the one that is on top of the things that are happening? You're open, you're ready, you're wearing the right garments so that you can show up in the way that's authentically you? Or have you given that over to the supporting player, the other people in your life, the other people in your family, the society at large? Or are you even one that's all the way home and your life is being led, the play is going on, and you don't even know about it? So I'm really dedicated to helping everyone reclaim your role, your rightful role. And for me, there's no other greater thing or gift that you can give to yourself to show up, because you don't know who's in your audience that really needs your message, your voice, and the things that you can bring to the table.
Ooh, yeah, absolutely. So I thank you again. That was beautiful. I'm confident that somebody, at least one person, right? Because you never know who's going to tune in, is taking something from this that is going to be life changing, and that always just really excites me to think about the impact that a conversation, listening to a conversation, can have on somebody. So I thank you for all that you do. The kindness piece, when we talk about that, I get really excited because I really do think that we all could just spread kindness. It would create incredible impact beyond anything that we could imagine. And I love what you said about having people be the main player in their story and living their truth. And I hope that some people come to you for assistance with that, because I know that they will be guided in an incredible, remarkable way. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate it for you joining. Thank you again, Lisa, very much for your time today. And take care, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.